What's up, everyone? DisThunder here once again, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Mezco 112 Collective Captain America Silver Age Edition. Silver Age because he is a pretty faithful recreation of the way Jack Kirby drew him all the way back in Avengers number 4 on up. This is indicated by the choice of the light blue, the bold colors, the bold red, the trunks over the pants of the suit, and the kind of one-dimensional flat belt, which I'm going to talk about when we get into that later, of course. But yeah, I would say this Captain America figure is a pretty loving tribute to the work of Kirby and a little bit of Jim Steranko, too, from he had a short run in that time on the Captain America main book. What was that, late 60s, I believe. It's worth noting, though, that one of the things that makes this figure so enticing is the fact that Captain America's look is pretty consistent throughout the ages, so with a little bit of effort and a few extra accessories, you could probably make a pretty damn good Secret Wars Cap out of this same figure without making any major changes. So we'll talk about that, too. Not to take away from how great it looks as Silver Age, I just know, as collectors, we're always thinking about what's the next chunk of the display? Can we finish off with this figure? That kind of thing. You know, it's kind of a problem. We probably ought to talk to somebody professionally about it. Yeah, I would say as far as the actual lifetime of this look, I think we can really probably say from 1964 up until about the mid-80s, this was the definitive look for Captain America, though. Since this character is so new and all, we'll kind of skip with the background information and jump straight into some comparisons. Starting with the other two Mezco Captain Americas, these guys date from, wow, I guess we're probably about 8-9 years ago now. On the left is the modern Cap, and then on the right would be the classic Cap variant, although you've probably noticed I changed out and gave him some Hasbro forearms and boots to make him look a little more classic-y. It definitely needs to be said, though, the bodies have aged a little bit. They're not quite as nice as the newer bodies like this figure is on, but as far as the costumes and the details go, both these Captain Americas have aged fantastically, and they still look great in a collection, regardless of who you put them next to. For optional parts, you have two different masked head sculpts for Cap. This is the regular, I guess we could call it kind of a stern-looking face, which is actually my favorite. Surprise, I know, I'm so boring. I like the plain Jane heads. But the gritted teeth one is also not bad. You notice a little bit of furrowed brow there too, so that's a good action head for action poses, of course. He also comes with this great unmasked head sculpt with a cowl piece to go around his neck to simulate the mask being down. And I love the character of this head sculpt. This is so much more definitive looking like Steve than the original one that we had. I may lighten the hair a little bit, take some of that classic comic book yellow and make it a little more blonde to match my other figures. But I think it looks great with the Silver Centurion Iron Man head. My favorite go-to Iron Man these days, and has been for a while, is the Neo Classic armor from Hasbro, because it's of the arcade style, and I think they look really good together, at least till I get that space armor. Here he is once again with the mask on with the Mezco 112 Iron Man, which is still just a pretty figure to look at, and I think the size proportions and everything are good there. Here he is with the original Spider-Man figure from, damn, almost as long ago as those Caps, probably 2018-ish, 2019, something like that. He's a little tall still, but looks good. He looks much better, however, with the more recent Silver Age Spider-Man, which is appropriate considering that's the time period they're going for here. I don't feel like this Spider-Man gets his due. I think it's kind of perfect. Here he is with my custom Red Skull figure, which is still basically a Mezco Red Skull figure. I just moved it to a Star Trek body and gave it a Hugo Boss suit. Here he is with Supreme Knight Batman, and as you can see, Supreme Knight is still taller, mostly in the boots. But proportionally wise, they're not as far apart as I would have expected. And like I was saying proportion wise earlier, I feel like this newer figure, even over a 3-year-old figure like Supreme Knight, I feel like Cap's got better proportions. He just has a little better silhouette, I think. So articulation is going to be basically what you expect. Nothing groundbreaking or wrong here. You've got a double jointed neck with a barbell at the top and the piece that goes down into the collarbone. You have a pretty damn good ab joint, most of it in the upper, but allows for a decent range back and forward. And you do have a slight butterfly joint. I like how tight these are, though, so it doesn't feel wobbly. So I like butterflies, but I like them when they're not loose. Good double jointed elbow. You can swivel the gauntlet a little bit if you need to, and then, of course, a ball jointed wrist. And you have ball jointed hips, of course. A little bit lacking on the forward, but out is fine. I think the forward is hindered by the trunks just a teeny bit. He's not got the world's deepest double jointed knee bend, but it's good enough for most poses. And I like the newer style, stiffer ankles that they've been doing. Well, it's not really new anymore, they've been doing it for a couple of years, but I still like these over the older style quite a bit. So he's pretty much got everything you would expect him to have, but he's a solid figure for it. So cap shield has always been a bit of a problem when it comes to accessories. Sometimes simpler is better, but sometimes, for a deluxe figure, you want some more options so you can make it look like it's in action. And I think Mezco came up with a pretty good solution here using an armature and these flinging effects. You have a straight-on effect like this, where it's just a straight curve. Well, straight curve is kind of an oxymoron. But you have the bounce effect here too. And these just clip onto the side of the shield. They only clip on one way because of the curvature of the shield, and then you will peg them onto that little ball joint on that stand. This is accomplished by this kind of clever little swappable accessory bit here on the inside of the shield. Now, if you want to put it on his arm, you attach this guy right here. You see it's got like a little T-shape in there, and you click it into place. And it's actually pretty sturdy, considering. I don't know how long it's going to last over time. If you beat the crap out of it, it may not hold. But you have a similar one for his harness you can put on his back. And then you also have this guy here, and this is what allows you to put it onto that stand. See, it's got a little ball joint there. You just snap that on, and that lets you get away with doing the action poses with it. It actually has pretty good range of motion for a little ball joint socket too at that. His other accessory is the Mad Bomb, which is not something I'm familiar with, but if you read the solicit, it says it was almost going to destroy the world, so it's pretty serious. And he has a molded hand appropriately to hold it. Here's a shot of that backpack harness with the shield attached to it from the front. Also, I included a nice shot of his saluting hand because it wouldn't be Captain America without a right-hand salute. And here's a shot of the shield on his back, which you can line up so the shield is properly oriented too, since, my OCD won't allow it to be any other way. Now let's talk about some swap options and some custom potential if you're looking into that kind of thing. Here's the original Steve Rogers head on the body. It doesn't fit the greatest, and frankly, I've always thought it looked more like Duke from G.I. Joe. Here's the classic head on the modern Cap body, and the colors are actually closer than I would have thought. If you squint, you could probably get away with this if you prefer that style. Here's the Marvel Legends Secret Wars head on the body, and here again, the color match is damn near spot on. So if you want a more angry gridded teeth head, this would definitely do the job. Here's the two Steve Rogers heads side by side. As you can see, the Mezco has kind of increased in size in their head sculpts a little bit, and the new one just has a lot more personality, like I said earlier. Now, unexpected bonus of this figure was the fact that you can actually remove those vinyl trunks if you want to have a slightly more modern look or just a non-trunk look. He actually has full-length pants underneath it. It's a little short where you can see that he's kind of wearing low cuts there, but you can get away with this, especially if you were to add a belt like the one from the Secret Wars Cap. And this kind of takes him from the pre-Secret Wars look to a Secret Wars and on kind of like 80s to 90s look, which is pretty awesome, especially if that's where your collection kind of more leans toward. The nice thing is you can do this without permanently altering the figure, so it's no problem to switch him back and give him the original shield, since Marvel's kind of retconned his original look into this in recent years. So, but it's nice to have options, right? It's especially ones where you don't have to permanently maim or alter a figure to get a look to go with, say, your Arcade Avengers shelf or something, right? So overall, that makes this figure absolutely a must-buy. It doesn't hurt that, there hasn't been a new Mezco Cap figure in several years. And, I bring up the stuff about being able to kind of change the look of him a little bit if you want to, because while Silver Age is great, I got to talk about something in this review. If I just tell you it's an awesome figure, it's just one of another dozen reviews that said the exact same thing. I try to give you something for coming through and watching, But obviously it goes without saying, if you wanted a Silver Age Cap out of the box, this thing is perfect, and I can't think of anything I would do differently for that look. So I believe he is on the wait list, unfortunately. It's a damn shame we don't get previews exclusives anymore, because this guy is just begging for some alternate releases. Hopefully they figure out a way to do that, though. Hopefully there's another vendor or somebody they can partner with and do some exclusives so we can get, hell, you name it. I mean, any like slightly different shades of color, or I don't know, like a Heroes Reborn. I mean, there's a lot you can do with this figure just as a base, so I would love to see him revisited. In the meantime, though, thank you, of course, to Mezco Toys for helping me get one to review for you guys, and thank you to you same guys for coming through and watching the review. Hopefully it gave you some ideas, and you're not tearing me up too much in the comments about taking the trunks off a figure, but we'll see. Take care. Talk again soon.